We're planning on homeschooling, and
Oh,
we're so weird.
what a weirdo.
But now that we got three, whoo!
Did they give you drugs?
I would have a contraction that I'd be like, do, just
Oh, that's right.
be like, oh, it's trash.
But still to this day, I can fight both of my brothers. Joining us today, we have Betina Gozo Shimonek. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You sure did. I was waiting
Let's
for it.
go. Let's go. Okay. So we have well over a decade partner of Nike, so many different appearances and training people all over the world, in person, digitally, virtually, from Tonal to the Nike training app. And I remember during the COVID era, that was like everybody was in love with it, following along, and just like you were saving lives, it seemed like. And across many different platforms, cover of Women's Health magazine, author of your own book. I'm going to just put it plurally like that, whether they're out yet or not. And mother of three.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that right there, I'm just going to pause and just give a toast to the moms
Aw.
in my mom mug. Mm.
That's so cute. No, we are. I mean, I honestly, with just the one, I was definitely like, oh, this is fun. But now that we got three, whoo, mom is a title that
Yeah.
everyone should really, really be proud of.
Yes. Yes. Self-employed. You're an entrepreneur, as I would say, a philanthropist. I know years ago, like shortly after we met, and I learned of the Dance with Mwene Foundation, which is your jammy jam. Um, I was like, man, you even more so now, especially being a parent. I have two kids of my own under 4 years old, and I'm like, doing all of this is an incredible feat. So you are not just in my view, but you are viewed by so many people as like the superwoman, does it all, self-employed. You travel, you take care of multiple children, multiple animals. You've got chickens, you've got bees, you've got dogs, you've got all this stuff going on. And you seem to do it with a smile on your face all the time. So I think the title of mom, yes, it is very all encompassing, but it's also not just limited to your offspring.
Yeah, it's interesting because I love the fact that I'm a mom, but I think that there's so much more to me. And every mom that I've met, whether they work or not, there's so much more to each woman. If they stay at home, there's so many women that I meet that are stay at home moms, but they do so much. It's not just they're a mom; they are, they're hustlers. Whether they're doing stuff around the house or they have passion projects, like every single woman that I've met that is a mom has so many unique features about them, and I'm just so proud to call myself one.
Yes. Yes. And you also have a fantastic marriage partnership, as it appears from your guys' ability with Nick, for you guys to be able to not just like, oh, we kind of work together and make things work, but it seems like you really build and have built a partnership together. So, as much praise as goes to you for being who you are and developing yourself in the way you have, there's also so much love. And I know this because I watched your YouTube, brand new channel popped up
Whoop,
today.
whoop.
And I know this in how much you love Nick and how much you appreciate him for not just in your partnership and your marriage, but also as a father. And so I think this whole package that is you that has developed into your life. My goal in our time together today, we're going to try to dance across a few different topics and areas, but I really aim to unpack how you came to build the person that you are today, because I've known you now for I don't know how many years, what, like 8 years, maybe something
Yeah.
like that. And you are a different woman today than the woman I had originally met. And so I know that's not just by accident. I know that about you. It's visible for folks that do follow you. So I'm hoping to unpack some of this, some of the strategy you put in place to develop you and your family into
Yeah.
who it is becoming and has become. And then try to maybe poke and prod at a little bit of things to test a little bit of philosophy to see, are you certain of this? Is this where you really want to land on this? Just to see if we could kind of stress test the things that you have chosen and hopefully present it in a way that people listening can go, wow, like I love how Bettina created this. And I needed this in my life, and you kind of laid it out for me to be able to adopt in myself and apply it to myself in my community, whether you're a parent or just in your friend group or whatever it may be. So that's my goal. That's what we're hoping to accomplish here today.
Love it.
How does that sound for you?
Sounds great. Bring it on.
All right, let's get into it. First and foremost, I love the timing of this just worked out great. Um, you are now how far out of a home birth for your third child? How far are we
Ooh,
out?
yes. Now
6, 7 weeks or so?
7 weeks, 7.5 weeks now. And I am so grateful to have given that experience. Prior to giving birth to Makoa, I had Osa, which I gave birth to at a birth center. We didn't make it to the tub for that one because they just didn't have it filled up by the time I was in transition. But then my first birth was crazy, like went way long, was in the hospital, and there's so many things that I could talk about with the whole hospital versus like I'm curious if I were to work with midwives versus working with an OB, what would have happened. But either way, I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm so grateful that I have had the experience because I've really been proud to share it and also share that with women who maybe have had experiences at a hospital that weren't ideal and wanted to showcase for them, like, hey, if this is something you're passionate about, it is possible if you can just work with the right team and do different things and know that one way isn't the only way.
I love it. And one of the big questions that comes up from, oh, you birthed in a bathtub or at a birthing center or at home, whatever. Because Jeanette, both of our
Yeah.
boys they were birthed at a birthing center. So one of the most common questions is like, did they give you drugs when you
Mm.
did this? Did you full on went like maybe probably not even a cup of coffee because caffeine while you're pregnant and everything, right? It's like
Mm.
just you, just baby, and just nature happening.
Yeah, it was honestly so amazing. Like the compared to all three of them have been completely different, but with Makoa and the home birth, there was a different vibe because I was at home. I was so chill that
Um,
everyone was like, "Oh, maybe she's in active labor, maybe not." I would have a contraction that I'd be like, "Do," just having a conversation with my doula, with my midwife, with my husband, and my kids are just splashing water on me in the tub. Like I was so chill, and I think it was because I was comfortable in my own home. And it was just such a different feeling because even at the birthing center, it was amazing. Like I was so happy to do it. And I thought, okay, I'm giving birth at a birthing center for each child after this. But the only thing I didn't like about the birthing center was getting in the car on the way there and on the way back. So I was like, you know what? Might as well try doing it at home. So I think there was just a different vibe for just being able to, labor in my own bed, labor in my own bathtub. We didn't even bring in a birthing tub. I remember just every single day towards the end of my third trimester, I was just sitting in my bathtub, just like imagining, because I'm a very visual person and I like to visualize what's going to happen. Almost like game day, for for athletes. I was literally
mhm.
going in my bathtub, imagining what would happen on that day. And, I was able to practice that visually and mentally and boom, like it was like such a beautiful thing when I just caught my baby boy, which I
Oh my
didn't know whether or
gosh.
not he would be a boy or a girl. So that was really fun.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh
I
my gosh.
totally forgot about that. You didn't know the gender at all
Mm-mm.
until literally you're holding this baby boy.
Yeah. Oh, and I
What
felt,
was
I
that like?
felt his testicles right away. I was like,
Hey,
it's a
okay,
boy.
big boy. Okay, big boy.
But this is what's really incredible. The whole time, Aluna was like, you know what? I really want a sister. It's gonna be a girl. It's gonna be a girl. The whole entire time. And that evening, when I started going into labor, it was 11:30 when they came into our bedroom, and I started, getting my contractions. It was, figuring that it was probably going to be time soon. That's, I was already texting the doula and the midwife, and I looked at Aluna and I said, "Aluna, are you ready to meet your baby brother or sister?" She just looks at me and she goes, "Yeah, it's going to be a brother." And I was like, wait a second. Like the whole time she was like, it's
Yep.
going to be a girl. It's going to be a girl. Like kids just have this magical power to them that I'm like, what the heck?
She's like, cause Aluna's dad's a football player, she just had to call an audible. She's like, Wait. I have a different read. I have a different read on everything right now. All right. I know we were coming into this game day with this plan, but I gotta call the audible right here, and she nailed it. Well done.
Exactly. Yep.
That is so good. So Aluna now is how old?
3.5. She'll be 4 in June.
Okay.
It's
So you
wild.
have three. Yes, it is.
Yes.
So you have three under four.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Take a deep breath. Take a drink. What do you need? You're surviving. You're doing great. What I
well,
want
it's
to
like,
see if
go
we
ahead.
could.
Good.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just laughing to myself because so many I got so many mixed things where people were like, oh yeah, going from 1 to 2 is harder than going from 2 to 3. But I realized it's because some people that were going from 1 to 2 versus 2 to 3, their older kid was older than 4.
Mm-hmm.
But when you
Yeah.
have 3 kids under 4, there's a lot
Yeah.
of feelings and not a lot of reasoning.
Yeah. What? These aren't logical beings? Are you? Yeah. No. No joke. No shit. So. So. What I'm curious about for you guys is kind of, there's family planning of, oh, we want to have kids. This is how many kids we want to have. We want boys, we want girls, yada, yada, yada. What I'm fascinated with and what I'm hoping we can dive into a little bit. And I'm so thankful for such a spontaneous opportunity here that worked out to also go multi-generational with this
Mm-hmm.
is I'm curious about values, how you develop values for yourself in your own life, but also how you're choosing as the head of your family, the heads of your family. Not saying you're speaking for Nick, but obviously you guys work together,
Mm-hmm.
you're a team, and he's not here, so I can't ask him these questions. But how you guys come to land on what values you want to instill in your three children as you have them
Yeah.
right now, how that's evolved from we have 0 children and we have 1 on the way to 1 to 2, 2 to 3. And so, what's really cool about this is we had an opportunity to ask your mom a
Yes.
question here. So, I'm going to read I wrote down the quote from your mother. So, basically, the question was, where did your mom gather the values that she wanted to instill in raising you, Betina? And what were these values, let's say? And her response, right off the bat, without hesitation, honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan. Big fan of honesty. So mom's like, I am, seriously. She goes, honesty, anything you think is wrong, don't ever even try to think of doing it. And I'm like, well, I was over here, snapping like it's some poetry. And then she followed that up with integrity. So she wanted to instill in you as she raised you honesty and integrity. And she said the root of integrity is the root of your entire family, of your mom's entire family. And this is, she also went on to say, public service, to never think of yourself and always think of others because yours will come. Always.
Mm.
She said, rewards will come. So these came from her and her mom, I think she mentioned.
Yep.
I'm curious what you feel as the next generation down, are these going to be passed down in the same hierarchy, the same order of importance? And how do you reconcile this for yourself, for your kids, where you go, oh, it's just kind of tradition, that's just how I was raised? Or have you stress tested this and said, that actually doesn't really work up to make the type of person we want to raise in our children?
Yeah, that's a great question. As we're growing, everything with Aluna is so new. She's 3.5 years old and we are learning everything every
Hmm.
single day. Like, we're just like, oh crap, like what we thought we were going to do here, what we thought, like everything is just so different. Like, and honesty and integrity is definitely high up on our values list. I was kind of laughing to myself at first because honesty, um, and integrity, they're similar, but in the way that honesty is a little different because Nick is one of those people that is straight up so honest that if you like are like, hey, what do you think of this? He'll be like, oh, it's trash. Like,
Yeah.
he's honest in that way, which I
Yeah.
love that about him. But I'm always like, I'm too like empathetic. I care about everyone's feelings. So I'm just like, I was kind of laughing at myself. I'm like, oh, what would honesty? Or is it more like integrity? So I feel like we would definitely lean more into the integrity route,
Mhm.
always doing the right thing. That's really important. And we're really just, even now with like Aluna and Osa, like they butt heads so much, but they love each other so much. And
Uh-huh.
I'm an only child. It was just me. So I don't know any sibling dynamic besides what I've seen on TV or what I've read in books or what I see with Aluna and Osa. Because I've been reading sibling rivalry
Mhm.
because it, I it was so new to me. It was just very like just everything. But anyway,
Mhm.
no, integrity is always doing the right thing is really, really high up. But I think the first thing for us is family over everything. And Nick actually has that tattooed on his arm. It's
Mhm.
it's just so important. Like family is everything, so family over everything. And I think for me, being an only child with a single mom, that wasn't as like instilled in me growing up. Not saying that family wasn't important. Like obviously I knew my mom loved me so much, but I think it was just so hard for her because she didn't have a husband until she was 8 or 9, and they were married, then they got divorced. He was my ex stepdad, or is my ex stepdad. Whenever I reference my dad, that's usually who I'm speaking
Mhm.
about. So I think that wasn't always such a high priority to me until I started, seeing Nick, realizing how important that was to him. But not only that, but seeing his parents. I felt more in love with Nick when I met his parents because I saw how his dad treated his mom. And just seeing that example right there was just like, oh, wow. Because I didn't really have that growing up. My
Mhm.
mom, again, was a single mom. We had loving family. She's one of seven. That whole like do the right thing was always there. Like we all knew that, but the whole family thing, whole family piece was kind of missing for me in the way that there was a mom and a dad. And so
Mhm.
now that I have Nick and he's got the two most amazing parents who like I'm so lucky to really love my in-laws. Like they're just amazing people and
Hey,
I love having them.
that's
like they,
real.
yeah, I'm just so grateful because they're amazing. And like I said, I fell in love with him more when I saw the way his dad treated his mom because I'm not gonna lie. When I first met Nick, I was like, are guys really this nice or is he just fake? Because he was just so polite. He was a gentleman. I was in LA when I met him, and he was a Texas man. I didn't know anything about Texas men. Like everyone was like, oh, they're so nice. And I'm like, I don't know anything about that until I really met Nick and his dad, and I was like, oh, this is a real thing. Like people
Mhm.
actually really care about their family, and
Mhm.
family values were really important to him. So that is the biggest thing for us. And um as we're growing older with more and more kids, like we're always trying to instill that with Aluna. Like you're always gonna you guys gotta look out for each other no matter what. Like even whenever they're fighting or whatever, like Aluna, I know you're mad at him for taking your whatever, this and that, but like you guys always got to have each other's back no matter where you are. And it's so awesome to see even now when they're little. Like this morning, Nick says something. He was just joking around with Osa and he was like, boy, if you don't do that, I'm going to smack you. And he was totally just kidding because he does, we don't smack our kids. But Aluna was
Yeah.
like, you better not smack Osa. Like she got so mad, like
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Like
Yeah.
she definitely like was trying to protect him. She knows that he's younger and all the things that we've been
Mhm.
trying to tell her, but at the same time, like they butt heads. But I think I just have to get used to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming from a family, I have 3 siblings. I have 2 older brothers,
Mm,
and the oldest is a sister. I can tell you without a doubt, no matter how much love these siblings have for each other and they're wonderful and everything, you spot on need to be expecting some fights. Absolutely.
it's
But
wild.
what's cool about the virtues and the value and you focusing on family over everything. What's cool about it is, at least in my experience, I can fight both of my brothers. Still to this day, I can fight both of my brothers, and that's totally fine. I mean, I'm gonna mop them up. Um, I can fight both of my brothers. They could fight me. We could, whatever it is, even like ganging up 2v1. But the moment somebody else tries to fight one of us, it's a wrap.
Yep.
And that's what's cool about it is like, this is my sibling. I can fight Osa or I could fight Aluna. but you can't, and
Mhm.
that protection and everything
Mhm.
like that, that's what you guys are building by having this. Because I look back at my parents and I'm like, how did they build this? And it was always dad made himself the enemy. And it was kind of
Yes.
like, look, you guys don't, there's no, snitches get stitches. It's kind of how he raised us, It's like, you're not
Yes.
snitching on your brother. And if you snitch on your brother, I'm going to whoop your ass too. So everybody gets ass whooping. And it was like, at the time, obviously, we hated it because it's like, man, I'm trying to tell you I'm doing the right thing. I'm telling on him and this is wrong. And but you're like, oh,
So
looking back, you
confusing.
go, okay, I see what was going on here. So even in that essence of like, boy, I'm gonna smack you, like stuff like this is which I totally get. And I could relate to that for sure. I've had offers to throw things through the wall. Not inanimate things, like, oh boy, and it's like just an
Yeah.
expression, obviously,
Yes.
or throw you to the moon. But what I'm curious about with this, you being an only child raised by a single mom. So you said when you were 8 is when your mom got married? 8 or
Yeah.
9?
I was I think I was 8 or 9. I remember I had to leave the school that I was in. I was in 5th
Mhm.
grade, and then I moved no, I was in
Okay.
6th grade and moved to a new school. So I was actually a little bit older.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
10-ish?
Yeah.
10-ish.
10ish.
So okay, so you're raised just you and mom, single, like that's it. No siblings, none of this stuff. And then Nick has how many siblings?
Just one. One older brother.
One older brother. So what is this conversation like as you're trying to navigate multiple children? Your kids have siblings and you're like,
Mhm.
I'm reading books, I'm watching these shows, I'm trying to learn, but especially with like your fitness journey, your personal training journey
Mhm.
came about because it wasn't like you went and took classes on how to be a good trainer.
Mm-mm.
You went trial by fire. You went from I'm a musician, drinking, partying, all this stuff to like, oh, I'm just going to figure this fitness thing out. And you've continually done so, built an amazing career doing it. That's not you studying and reading the thing and all this stuff. So, how does this conversation happen when you guys, boom, there's a moment where the kids are fighting and you're like, no, you're not supposed to do this. And then Nick's like, well, actually, like, how does
We're
that work for you guys as you guys navigate that?
It's funny because I am very much I read all the books. I'm trying to, I love Dr. Becky Kennedy, The Good Inside. I love all of those philosophies, the gentle parenting. But Nick is like not the opposite. He's definitely good at he's at the firm gentle parenting. and but he's just like sometimes he's like some of that shit is bullshit. like, and I like he's like, he's just he's some of
The,
it he's just like I don't think some of it works. Like he's like I think we're raising soft kids. I don't want to raise soft kids. And I was like I get that, cuz Nick he's awesome and I don't think
mhm,
his parents raised him as a with any gentle parenting. I think for me my mom was single mom, so even me with a partner, I'm so overstimulated sometimes and I just want to snap. Like and I have an amazing partner and we have help, but
yeah,
like my mom, it was hard for her. She had to do a lot of things by herself. So I think there are a lot of times where I've tried to do everything not opposite of her, but I
mhm,
try to make up for the things that she couldn't do. So I'm constantly trying to like read all the books and do all the right things, but then like I'm just like and then end up blowing up,
right,
I'll just be like,
right.
Aluna, it's okay. You can I get it. I know you're upset, but it's okay. I understand that you didn't want me to peel the cheese that way, but it's just like
Yeah,
but Nick just like is direct, and I think as we've been navigating a lot of these like the way we want to parent is just like
mhm,
Nick's like I want everyone to I want to be we want to communicate all
mhm,
the time. Like if one of us does happen to blow up, we're going to talk about it afterwards. We're not going to pretend like it doesn't exist
yeah,
and like it didn't happen. And we always talk about situations after the kids go to sleep instead of talking about it in front of Aluna, especially because now she's at the age where she understands everything we're saying.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we
That's
try
big.
not to we not try not to talk about like, oh, Luna did this and da 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 da. Like it's
Yeah,
just we're trying to figure everything out, and I think we both have that growth mindset where we're just like, you know what, we kind of figure everything out day by day.
yeah,
Even though I'm the person that likes to read and
mhm,
like try to learn all the stuff, but like We like to go with the flow, and that's what something, a lot of our friends say about us is like we're just trying to be really chill about everything in the way that we always say we'll figure it out,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Yeah. We'll do it live. We'll do it
Yes,
live.
literally.
I feel that. Yo, okay. First of all, I so I don't know Nick. We've never met or anything. I just know him basically online and through you and your Instagram and soon your YouTube.
Hey.
Um, from what you're sharing about his perspective, he's a little bit more firm, more direct, even his honesty approach, which
Mhm.
I love this and I appreciate that because to me it's like if you're asking my opinion, you need to know that I'm going to give you my opinion, right?
Mhm.
If you're looking for encouragement or support, I'm always going to support you. And encouragement may sound different, but like I'm not going to caress you with a lie. I would rather stab you with the truth. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I love this about him where he's just like, look, this is the truth. This is the bold. Now, there's obviously debate of like how far on the spectrum do you go with just I'm firm and stern versus like I'm going to say it empathetically like you were
Yeah.
discussing, right? I think I fall in line with what you're describing his perspective on parenting. The gentle parenting thing, I love it, right? I think it's fantastic when you are talking about how you interact verbally and even with touch with your children.
Mhm.
And I think that is such a great way to interact with them 80% of the time.
Agreed.
And then there's the punishment spectrum, which is
Mhm.
where that 20% lives. And I don't think that it does justice to have kids who are just like, oh, I could just do this and know that I could get away with it, or all I'm gonna get is a talking to. I've had a talking to. It's not that bad, right? Sometimes it's like anything else, like it's an escalation of force. It's not as if,
Yeah.
oh, my whole parenting style is like, the iron fist. But if you do something and you're not responding to all the levels that come before that, from gentle all the way up to the iron fist, then you land on the iron fist, so to speak.
Yes.
So I totally agree with him and his perspective on that. What I'm curious about though is for you guys when you're sorting this out, because you're going with the flow, but the flow isn't always just going to present itself, and you guys, oh, there's the flow. Come on, and you go and go with the flow. What does it look like when you're at that? Like, wait, we're kind of not seeing the same thing here.
Mhm.
So how do we get to that point? Like one thing you mentioned, I think is a great tip for people is don't talk bad or about the bad things about your kids in front of them.
Yeah.
And that's something Jeanette is like, she's so good with this. And I think Nigel was probably, I don't know, he wasn't even maybe 2 years old. And, I travel a good bit for work. And she would give me updates, whether, on FaceTime or on a call, where she's kind of like, yeah, he did this thing, like, whatever little kids do that wasn't good behaviorally. And then we got to the point where we're like, we need to start texting each other
Yeah.
the bad thing
Yeah.
and talking about the good thing, right? You
Mhm.
wanna speak to them so they hear how wonderful they are and all that stuff, and then the bad stuff, we still cover, we still get to handle that, but not in front of them, they don't hear it
Yeah.
and, all that stuff, so that was something we were just like we weren't necessarily same page on, and then we grew to be on the same page about that, like, yeah, that's a totally good way to go, but it wasn't where we were, the flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when something comes up and you go, "Oh, this is a thing that we're kind of like not seeing. I'm the only child raised by single mom. You're the sibling raised by two parents, full household or complete household as they say and a good, Texas virtue is not the LA actor. I'm acting like a good man until sometime, you know what I mean? It's like, "Oh, you're a genuinely good man. I love that about you." What is it that happens for you guys when you go, we need to figure this out together because it's new territory, or
Yeah.
for us, because every kid's different too?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that you do to go, let's get on the same page? Because right now we're not necessarily on the same page. Not saying you're butting heads, but like we don't have the clear thing of how we want to take this moving forward.
Totally. There are so many times where, one of us might wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and like, for example, maybe I think a couple weeks ago, Nick woke up. He was a little tired because he was trying to keep Aluna and Osa in their bed. He kept having to wake up, whatever. And so he woke up a little bit on the wrong side of the bed. And so I could tell that he was a little more like snappy with the kids, but I saw it happening. And
Hmm.
instead of being like, what are you doing? Like, stop doing that or whatever. I just was like, you know what? I'm going to distract each kid because they were being crazy that morning.
Yeah.
So I just kind of distracted them, kind of took it our own way, treated them in the way that I thought they should be treated in that moment, not like telling Nick that he was doing anything wrong or anything. And then later on that evening, I was like, hey, this morning I noticed you, not attacking him, but I was like, hey, I know you were really tired
Hmm.
from, Osa and Aluna waking up, but like, I think that we could have handled this a little bit better. We always just talk about things.
Yeah.
We're very like head on with all our anytime we see, we don't see something. Sometimes we'll argue about it. We'll be like, well, I'm like, well, I don't understand why you think that, this and that. And, sometimes we might not land on something right at that moment. And I
Hmm.
think that we know that that's okay and that we're still figuring everything out. Like,
Yeah.
I used to be the person that's like, no, we got to figure it out right now. Like, I
Yeah.
need an answer. Why aren't you seeing this? But as I've been in a relationship with him and knowing how patient he is, and sometimes he needs a second to digest it, especially if I was the one that brought it up. He
Hmm.
might digest it and then maybe we'll come back into it. Maybe not that night, but maybe the next night we'll be like, yeah, you know what? I was thinking about what you said. And yeah, maybe we should do it this way. And then we kind of come up with like a way it works. But I also think that we have realized that sometimes we each have our own role. I am the soft, empathetic one that the kids are like, mommy, mommy, whenever something happens. And then
Yeah.
dad's the one that just get to play rough and do all the fun things and whatever. But like when
Yeah.
he needs to lay down the hammer, like he lays down the hammer and they listen. But I'm the one where like if I'm yelling, they're kind of like, I'm not gonna really listen unless I'm really like they know for a fact, like because I say this all the time to them. I'm like, I only raise my voice if something's dangerous because I know like
Hmm.
I don't ever yell, but like if
Yeah.
someone's getting hurt or something's about to happen, that's the only time I'm gonna yell. So I
Yeah.
think we just know that we each have a role, and that's why we need each other and we're a team.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. We feel the same way. Our household very similar. Role playing, which
Yeah.
there's the good and the kryptonite for every role.
Yes,
we'll just
exactly.
we'll leave it at that. But yeah, shout out once again to all the moms that have to put up with all of the breakdowns and the tantrums and everything
Oh
like
my
that. But it's
gosh.
because you make the children feel so safe that they can
Hmm.
do that. If they're carrying
Hmm.
that weight of the day, whatever the stressor is, or even if it's not a stressor, it's just hormonal processing for these
Yes.
growing beings, and you're the safe space that they get to wreak havoc in your bubble.
Yeah.
It's like shout out to you guys for that for sure.
Yeah, actually, that's why I was a little late to our meeting because uh Aluna was like, "Mommy, mommy," because my mom didn't color in the line. She kind of
Oh,
colored outside of the line, and Aluna lost
Lola,
it.
Lola,
I know.
Lola.
I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. Why did you color?
Yeah, that's
But she was
that is
really
hilarious.
upset, like real tears, like really upset, would not
Yeah,
let go. I was like, I'm sorry. So I had to
yeah.
like get down. Cause sometimes this is the funny part is like, other thing is like, Aluna is me, like she really is me, and Osa is Nick. And so
Mm,
Nick always talks about how he knows how to talk to Osa because Osa needs the direct, like he is just so hard headed and stubborn.
yeah,
But like Aluna is the one that like sometimes she just needs a hug because sometimes when Nick and I are like there's something going on or I'm upset, I'm like, Nick, I just want a hug. You don't need to solve my problems. I just want a hug. Cause like he's
yeah,
always trying to solve Aluna's like, Aluna, figure it out. Da, da, da. And I'm like, no, she just needs a hug, bro.
yeah. Yeah, that's good. This is where, where you're fitting in like a puzzle piece, the two of you in your
Exactly.
partnership, where you could spot things that he can't and vice versa. And you can
Yep.
kind of sick each other on the problem, right? You're like,
Yep.
hey, I'm seeing this, and you might not see it because you don't have the experience that I have to be able to witness it and know what's coming and everything. But I see the pattern, just so you know, you're in. Get in there.
Yep.
Get on the field. Um, let's talk schooling. Because
Mm.
this is something, yes, this is something that came up. I think it was, I don't know, it was what, a couple months ago, and I was like, oh, we're gonna save this for our recording session. What are your thoughts and plans around schooling your
Yeah.
children, and how have these evolved from maybe pre-children to now 3 children?
Yeah, well, we're planning on homeschooling for as long as we can, and
Oh,
we're so weird.
what a weirdo! Yeah,
What's really awesome, few things. Out here in Texas, so many people homeschool.
Mm,
I didn't realize this until I started going to the library a lot during the day, and there were so many moms that had kids that are like 5 or 6, and I was like, huh. And they're like, oh yeah, we homeschool our kids, and there are so many programs, so many co-ops.
yeah,
So we don't know exactly what we're going to do quite yet, as far as like if we're doing a co-op or if we're just gonna do it with another friend,
yeah,
but that's our plan and we want to do it for as long as possible. There are a lot of programs too for kids to be able to play sports at the schools, even if you homeschool. So,
yep.
because that's a big thing for Nick. Obviously, he wants the kids to play sports
Oh
and
yeah.
like, at school. So, our kids already get so much socialization. We're in the libraries. We're doing all these different activities. They do jujitsu.
Let's
They're
go.
doing, yeah, Luna's got her 2 stripes now.
Dang, she got two now.
She's got 2 stripes.
You're
Yes.
a girl's
No, but
man.
I know it's so much fun. She loves it. But no, there are a few reasons why we really want to. Number one, we are always home and we love being able to expose them to new things through our lens as much as we
Mhm.
can. And then through other kids' lenses while we are supervised. And so I don't know, we're just, because we're flexible and we both work from home, we think that is definitely a good option, because a lot of people will send their kids to school because they have to go to work
Mhm.
for 6 to 8 hours, and so you just got to send your kid off to school. Not saying that that's what everyone does and that's why people do it, but I think that's, for us, we're like, well, might as well just do it here.
Mhm.
We also love the kids learning from us, all the stuff that we do outside, the gardening, the bees, the chicken, like all the things that they really need to know at such a young age, they just learn from us.
Yeah.
But again, like we go to the library, we have like a bunch of classes that we go to together. They have like classmates, quote unquote, but we're all like doing stuff together. Um, but and truthfully, I think the one of the big things, and it's not the biggest reason, but like it's kind of scary out there nowadays. I mean, let's just be real, it's just kind of scary. And
Mm.
so there are things you asked, like how has that evolved? Like there are definitely times where I'm like, man, it would be so nice so I could send them off to school for 6 hours, because we have someone come here, Nick's cousin, Michelle. She is our wonderful babysitter or nanny, if you want to call her, but really she's family, and we pay her. We
Yeah.
happen to pay her, and she helps
Yeah.
watch the kids for 3 days a week. But it's hard to get work done, because even if I have to go get a snack from the kitchen, like it's a whole 15-minute thing versus just like running in there and running back. So
Yeah.
there are definitely days where I fantasize about sending them off,
Yeah.
but uh, I know for sure that I really like having them here, and I know that one day I'm gonna look back and wish, like, all those like harder moments, like, especially because it's such a privilege that we get to work from home.
Yeah.
It's awesome that we get to be here. Like, I get why my mom had to put me in school, because she had to go to school, she had to go to work to make money, but like we are at home, so why not? Um, and plus, we really don't think that they need more than a couple hours of just sitting down and learning anyway. Nick and I are both such active people; like we can't even sit down for more than an hour. So why
Yeah.
do we expect kids to? So
Yeah.
that's
So,
my long-winded
but
answer.
I mean, isn't it? It's a great answer. It's a great answer. But this is going to be the part where I start to poke and prod
I
somewhat.
love it.
Isn't it a disservice to them socially to not be in school though?
We get that a lot. Lola's been saying it. Everyone's been saying it. Even Nick's parents were like, "Well, they're not. They're gonna need to, do this and do that." And we're like, "No, because they're gonna be playing sports. They already have friends. Like Aluna has so many friends. It's like, well, the one only place that we ever take her that we don't see, like we don't know the kids, is the gym. We have a gym here, but there's a gym down the street from our house that we take them to, and they have
Mhm.
daycare there. And she'll be like, "Oh, my friend Palmer." I'm like, "Who the heck is Palmer?" Because like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think just having the kids have social interaction, and I think, and I know how important every single interaction is. So if anything, we love that we kind of have control of it, at least in the beginning.
Mm,
And we know as they get older, they're teenagers, they're going to be a little more independent. Like we're okay with them going off and doing their own thing, but we want to make sure that they know how important it is and how safe it is for them to feel with us all the time. Like something that I told
Yeah.
Nick is I always want them to know that even if they did do something wrong, it's okay for them to go to us.
Yeah.
We just trying to figure that out and just that we're not the enemy. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I think that just growing up, like it was really hard for my mom. She didn't really know how you know, to parent. Really, it was just hard. Like, she was single and
Yeah.
she was going to school, and so now I'm so passionate about making sure that we are a safe place for the kids. And I think
Mhm.
just growing up with us and being alongside us, that'll hopefully be the case for them.
What led to this decision for you guys? Was this a slow growing thing? Was this you saw somebody else and you were like, wow, I'm inspired by these children? Was it something else? Where did this come about? And was this more fear driven? Like you mentioned, the world's a little bit scary, especially in
Scary.
schools and stuff. Or was this something that you were like, it's not fear driven, it's desire driven? Like these kids that we met are amazing. They're homeschooled. We want our kids to be like them.
Hmm.
Or, ooh, we're in Texas and Uvalde and, so on. So
Yeah.
where what how did this come about?
That's a great question because for me personally, it was originally fear driven. I think I
Mm,
was like, I'm so scared. Like we did have Aluna go to a daycare in the beginning. And I
yeah,
remember just being like, oh gosh, like what do we do if something were to happen? Like, like I just was always thinking about it.
yeah,
And so I was like, you know what? We work from home anyway. Once I found out I was pregnant, I was like, let's just hire somebody to be at the house. It's almost the same price to have both of them there anyway. Plus we both work from home, so it doesn't really matter. Like I just started thinking that
yes.
way. But then as we really reflected on it and started telling more people that we were doing this, we were meeting so many people through our jiu-jitsu community that were also doing it. That made it
Mhm,
more of an expander for us. And that we were
mm,
like, oh, wow, this is like a totally normal thing that people do out here. People have older kids here that seem completely normal, and socialized. And so we
yeah,
were like, okay,
yeah,
this is because at first I was like, well, maybe we only do it up until they're like a certain age. But like we
yeah,
know plenty of people that have, high school kids, or up
yeah,
until high school. So I mean, I'm definitely
mhm,
open to after junior high. They go to they do the whole what's her name? Caddy from or Katie from Mean Girls goes to high school and for the first time after being a homeschool kid. But
uh-huh,
I think well, yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of those things where at first I was just so scared of the world, but now I'm like, oh, this is just a normal thing here. And the more we
mm,
talk about it, the more it seems like I've been putting that energy out there and we just seem to be meeting more people that's what they do.
yeah. What reservations do you have about it so far?
Me not knowing what the heck I'm talking about when I'm teaching this.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
definitely need a tutor. Like the
Yeah,
whole program itself, like there's definitely things because school wasn't my strong suit. Like I always think somehow I tested really well. I was a decent student. I just didn't like
mhm,
going to school. So I think that's probably another thing that's really really big on my heart is that I just didn't like going to school growing up.
mm,
Like
yeah.
I actually shouldn't be proud of this, but I was voted Lady Ditch a lot in high school. Um,
You gotta be kidding me. I seriously, I was class skipper as well.
See, this is why we're so similar. Yes, because I was like,
Straight
yeah,
up,
what,
me
what?
that's hilarious. That is okay, Lady Ditch a lot, go on.
Yeah, there was a lady in Sir Ditch a lot, and what's hilarious is at the school awards, of course, the guy wasn't there, but I was there. I actually showed
Hey,
up. It was very fitting.
that's the truth.
He
That's how
was
you know that's the king right there.
yeah. But yeah, so for me, I just like, I feel like I learned so much more from being in the world than I did from books.
Mhm, yeah,
Well, but now I obviously love to read and I love to learn about things that I like to know. Um,
yeah,
and so obviously I know there are things that we're gonna have to teach our kids that it's required for them, but um we just I don't know. I just think that it's just gonna be one of those things where I'm like, I don't know. But I will note that if one of them says they really want to go to school, we'll have a discussion and talk about it.
that's good. I like it. What do you think this is school and overall parenting, back to kind of virtues and everything, because a lot of this, it all gets tied together. What do you think is perhaps a missing link that you hope to find a good way to integrate into your family building, whether through school or just individually teaching? Like, thinking back to your mom, honesty and integrity, they're so core from her parents teaching her and her teaching you. What do you think is something that maybe a virtue or a value or something that you're like, we don't really teach this, but I would love to have this instilled in our kids?
Mm, I guess just that growth mindset. I mean, I don't know. Is that, I mean, does that answer your question in a way? I mean, it's like something that you don't really learn, but it's something that's really important to us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always saying that to Luna, like whenever she gets frustrated because she can't figure something out or do something, I'm like, Luna, we're always growing every single day. We're always learning. Like Nana and Tata are always growing and we're always learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that just trying to figure out how we can instill that in them and knowing that it's okay if you don't know something. And if you
Mm-hmm.
really want to figure it out, you just got to keep practicing or keep learning and growing.
Yeah. Yeah. But okay, I'm not gonna let you get away with that answer.
Okay. I was like, is that the question?
Well, the reason is because you and Nick both embody growth mindset.
I see. I see.
You
Okay.
live it out. So what I'm curious about is something that you guys maybe don't
Don't
have
do. Okay.
worked
Okay.
into your family yet, but you maybe admire it and you're like, "Oh, I like this. I've seen it. I've seen other people do this and work it into their family values, and I want to, or we want to develop that into our family or our kids."
I think if I'm being honest, it would probably be in the faith world or with religion because we have a lot of amazing friends here who have done so much for me and have opened my eyes in such a new way. And I love the way they've raised their kids. Um, I have two friends that I'm thinking of in particular. One of which is a pastor, and they're starting their own church in New York. They're actually moving, which makes me really sad. But
Mhm.
the way that they raise their kids to love God in a way that is, just so genuine is something that's really I admire about them because I grew up Catholic. Most Filipinos did, and it's
Yeah.
such a fear-based religion, and it it's it wasn't really it's not the way I want to raise our kids. Like I just want them to love God and to know that there's a higher being and that they're, if you're a good person, like the like my mom said, like you'll get yours, in a good way. And so uh I just love how much grace and peace that they have, and I love the way that they do that with their kids. So Nick and I are both starting to just kind of explore that a little bit in just simpler ways of just like let's pray at night and talk about that, this and that. But like the way, whenever I hang out with these people, they're just their kids already just know everything about everything. And not that I want them to know the Bible in and out or anything, but I just it interests me, and I think that that's kind of where my heart wants to go because when I've
Mhm.
switched over to really like embracing my faith a little more, that's kind of when all the good things kind of started happening to me. Um,
Mm.
so I kind of have that's like there's like a special place in my heart for all of that. And also like with Osa, when Osa was born, I had a community. I had some friends here and there, but it wasn't until I met one girl who kind of like introduced me to everybody after I had Osa. Like my birth after Makoa, like we didn't pay for a meal for like until now. Like we're still not buying meals. Like I had like people bringing me meals. We had like over $1,000 worth of DoorDash gift cards. Like, and it's just all because we just had all these good people in my life. And I was like, man, in LA, I thought I had a good community, but it wasn't like that. It was different.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
something.
I love that. I think that the difference, LA to Texas, having spent time in both, LA community is very much transactional
Yes.
as opposed to Texas or any real small town.
Hmm.
Small town virtues, America is much more like, today you, tomorrow me. Maybe
Yeah.
today you need help, next week you need help and everything. I'm not keeping track of this. I'm just
Yes.
here to help. That's my
Yes.
value. And yeah, someday I'll probably need help too. And I hope that you're there. And if you're not, then someone else will be.
Yes.
And it's not like, oh, I'm doing this for you and hopefully I can call in the favor,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
which is very much LA esque.
Totally. Yeah, and I mean, I have this one neighbor, like I've just met her only one time, and she has brought me several meals in the beginning. Like she still does it. Actually, today she just dropped off a Costco order. She was like, "Hey, I'm going to
Mhm.
Costco today. What do you need?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't want to ask her to. I do need coconut water. You know, all this stuff. Like there's all so many things that I need, but I'm like, I'll just ask her for a few things. But like, she don't care. She's like, I'm going there anyway. I'm passing by her house anyway. Like it's not that big of a deal, you know."
Yeah.
Like me and Nick are
So
always
sweet.
saying to each other, like, man, we need to be more like that. Like
Hmm.
so many of our friends, like and it's not, and again, it's not just about like learning the Bible inside out, but like how these people all the common denominator between all of those people is faith. So that's where
Hmm.
we've kind of discovered like, okay, this is why all of them are like this. No, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
some sort of value that they've really been, it's been instilled in them.
right, right, right. That makes complete sense. It's like, there's so many different types of faith out
Hmm.
there, and when you find something that is like, "Ooh, this is our vehicle. We're just gonna choose this vehicle to get us to that kind of lifestyle, that kind of existence that we
Yes.
want to have, that we you admire in other people." So,
Yes.
makes complete sense. Complete sense. I love it. Okay, I know you're tight on time,
Oh,
so
dang. Yeah.
we're gonna ball.
Dang.
Yep, we're
Okay.
gonna ball. I'm on it. I'm on it.
I love it.
We're gonna ball this up with two things. One, I want to just fully give you the floor for like, what is a message that you want to send to the world that it would honor your mother's and your Lola's
Ooh.
virtues of like, think of other people, like, not about you, think of other people. What is a message that you want to put out into the world that if people hear this and they receive this message, you will feel like that was sort of a life's work for me bundled into this message.
Yes.
So that's the first part. I'll leave
Yes.
it there and then let you take it away.
No, I love this. So it's a kind of a combination of my mom's stuff that she instilled in me, but with my twist on it. I really believe it's so important to serve other people and to give back, but it's more important that you show up for yourself and take care of your health and your mind, your body, your spirit in order for you to truly serve others, and not in a selfish way, you know, in just the most simple ways, like just taking care of yourself is just the way you can truly show up for everyone else. And that doesn't just go for health, but also financially. Like I've met people before that are like, well, why are you doing this? Because, you know, if the more money you make, the more you can give, you know, because a lot of it's not even really yours anyway. Just, you know, it's okay to like money and all of these things. I think that there's a lot of people that tell you not to like that stuff because it's
Mhm.
greedy, this and that. But like the more you have, the more you can give. And the more you show up for yourself, the more you can give to others. So
Yeah,
that's my message.
I love it. That reminds me, Tony Robbins talks about this where he's like, people that say, money is evil and money won't buy happiness. He challenges them and says, then you haven't given enough away.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I get goosebumps when I think of that. Yep.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, you can buy something for yourself, the new shiny thing, or even buying experiences, which Jeanette and I are both big on this. Like,
Yes.
buy experiences, forget about things.
Yes.
When you buy an experience for yourself, it lasts longer than when you buy things for yourself. But when you buy maybe an experience for somebody else, that lasts
Mm,
way longer.
mm-hmm.
The joy of that is, it's so profound for sure. I love this
100%.
message. Take care of yourself so that you can take better care of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Big one. Love this message. Now, a little bit more selfishly. What are you working on? What have you been working on that people can go and support you, support your family in a way, whether it's just attention or if you have like products, services, things like this that you're
Yeah.
like, let me direct people this because you are spending so much of your time and energy to help other people through different things like your training and program and TV and all this stuff that where can we direct people where they could find you and support you directly this way?
Love. I love that you said the support aspect because, you know, I have an app. It's BGTV. It is my fitness and wellness community. And, you know, it is a subscription base. So people are getting workouts, they get my community. There is all that. And that's something that I'm really proud of because, you know, I've been on camera for all these different brands and I've been doing it their way. So finally I got this opportunity to do something my way. Awesome.
Mhm.
Great. Cool. But what's so simple is just like, I love that if you're a follower on Instagram, like my stuff, share it if you would like, save it if you like it. Cool. It's such a simple thing with the support. Like all my friends, if they show up, I'm a hardcore, like I'm gonna like it. If you're in my feed, I'm gonna like it. If
Yep.
you're not in my feed, tell me. I'll show up in my feed. I'm gonna like it. Like
Yep.
that's how I like to support people. And that sounds so silly, but it doesn't cost a thing. You're gonna be scrolling
Yeah.
anyway. So if you're
Exactly.
not already there, follow me on Instagram, like all my posts, especially if it's got a hashtag sponsored or a hashtag ad on there.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
do, to support my family. I've been able to share my journey on the internet through Instagram and now YouTube. Thanks, Anthony, for helping me
Yes.
with
Yes.
that. Really excited about that. But all those little things, the algorithm's good too if you get those that the likes. And I know it sounds just so cheesy, but if you got friends that are doing stuff on the internet, like that's a way you could support them without spending a dime.
For sure. That's so real. When you're in it,
It
right? The
sounds
people
so
in the
silly.
arena,
It really
it
sounds silly.
it sounds silly, and it is silly when you think
Mhm.
of it. Like, it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's supporting you," but when you're in it, you understand it, right? It's the
Yes.
person in the arena that gets it, so completely. If you don't understand, if you haven't built something on your own, if you haven't developed a channel or, whether it's YouTube or anything else that's online in this way, in the attention space, social media, whatever, if you haven't developed it, then the people that you do support that you like, if they're telling you, "Hey, this is the best way to support me," it's because they're in it and they know, right?
Mhm.
You have been in it for a long time. You know that this is a great way to support you. And the one thing I will say is, as free as it is, if it means nothing to you to press a like button or to press a subscribe button or to press a save button, or if it's like, man, that's not important to me, then use the person's love language, not your love language, right? Like,
Yes.
use Betina's love language in the internet space. If she's, this is her words of affirmation, let's say, so to speak, give that gift, even if it means nothing to you. And if it means a lot to you and you understand and you get it, then you get it. And there's really
Mhm.
no need to explain it. Last thing, where can they find you? Your Instagram,
Yep.
your BGTV app, and your YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, yeah. At Life with Betina. But all that stuff is on my Instagram, on my link tree. That's the best way to find all my ways to contact me.
Perfect. And your
And connect.
Instagram is at Betina Gozo, correct?
Yes, sir.
Betinagozo.
That's right.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you. Big love to your mom, too. Thank her for
Yes.
being a part of this as
Oh yeah.
well, which was really cool to get that kind of multi
It's
generational, like,
funny. She asked me, she was like, "Can you tell me the question and then I'll think about it?" I was like, "No, I'm just gonna read it." And then she gave a great answer.
are you
So it was
kidding
on
me?
the fly. Yeah, it was on the fly. I was like, "No, I'm not gonna read it to you beforehand. I want you to like say it."
Okay. I'm going to do, just because I wasn't sure of that, but now that you're telling me this, I'm going to see if I can play the
Oh,
audio
it's
over
so
this
she's
right now.
so precise.
I'm going to play it right now. Let's see.
What values or characteristics did you focus on teaching Bettina as you raised her? And how are these introduced to you as important enough to pass on? It's always honesty and integrity. And you have to, it's always my mom's, also, she always reminds me about that. Anything that you think is wrong, don't ever even try to think of doing it. If it's wrong, don't do it. Just don't. So that kind of gives you the right path always. Being alone, you always have that as a your guide. Cool. Integrity. What about any virtues that you aim to raise me on, and where did you learn them? Like, could be religion, stuff from Lola and Lolo, cultural norms. The virtue is coming from the roots of my entire family. It's public service. Never think about yourself ever. It's always others, because it will come. Every time you help others, all the grace of God maybe comes along with it, and there's always rewards. Perfect. Thanks, Lola.
Woo! I hope
So
that came
good.
through clear enough.
That was very clear on you.
Yeah, it really is so good, and it sounds like she has media training, how good those answers and
Right?
instant they were, which was like that's why I was like, "Oh, you asked her the question, gave her the heads
Mhm.
up or whatever, and then asked her on audio," but if that was just genuinely live, that's what I love is the real values and virtues, they're immediate. You don't have to think of it like, "What did I write down that one day?" It's like, "No, this is how I raised my daughter, and this is how I was raised by my parents," and she
Mhm.
just knows it right off the bat, and that's so beautiful. I love to see it.
Mhm.
So shout out to your mom for that. Big love to her. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
New-ish mother of three, self-made entrepreneur, trainer. Also, your kind of target audience is mothers or
Mothers
soon-to-be
and family.
mothers.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get your body and take care of your body through the whole birthing process, after birthing process, Betina is an excellent resource for this to help you not make lifelong damaging mistakes to your body and also make sure that you're building how you should all along the journey, whether it's first, second, third, or fourth trimesters. Is this
Yes.
accurate?
100%. I'm here to support women on every part of their journey.
I love it. Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much, B. Have a wonderful rest of the day, a great weekend. Much love to you and the family. And we'll talk soon. I still have more questions, which I'll be
Woohoo.
bouncing back and forth
We
with
can
you.
do a
But
part
this is
2.
yeah, we could do a part two. Yeah, I think actually a part two with Nick would be
Hey, I
worth
like that.
some time.
We
Yeah,
got 2
I think
mics.
we perfect. Perfect. Okay, cool. Be easy. We'll talk soon.
Bye.